Most franchise advice sounds something like this: buy a proven brand, follow the system, don't reinvent the wheel. None of that's wrong. It's just useless. It's the kind of advice that sounds smart and tells you nothing at the same time. And people follow it right into sinking their life savings into a business that looked great on paper and was never going to work for them. I've been on both sides of this. I built a franchise called Laundrolab from one location into a $100 million business, sold over 100 licenses, and I've read more than 1,000 franchise disclosure documents, which is a genuinely insane way for me to have spent my time in my 20s and 30s. Now I run Franzi, where we help people figure out if a franchise actually fits them before they sign away the next decade of their lives. Here's what all of that taught me. Buying a franchise doesn't run on tips, it runs on laws. They decide whether you build something real or buy yourself the most expensive job you'll ever have. There's 7 of them. This is the video I wish I could hand to everyone before they sign. Buying a franchise isn't one problem, it's 3, and you don't have to solve all of them all at once. There's the math problem. Does this actually make money after they take their cut off the top? There's the fit problem. Is this the right one for you, your money, your skills, and the life you actually want to be living? And then there's the risk problem. What happens when it underperforms? Because it will at some point. And are you protected or are you finished? These 7 laws solve all 3. Law number 1, the brand isn't the point, the unit economics are. I've seen someone pass on a senior care franchise doing over $1 million a year in revenue because they'd never heard of the brand. Then they turned around and bought into a household brand where the owner takes home almost nothing after royalties and rent. Don't fall in love with the brand, fall in love with the numbers. Ask whether this business in this location makes money or not. Let that decide, not the logo. Law number 2, there are 3 franchises inside every brand. When people research a franchise, they find one number: average unit volume, average revenue per store, and they lock into that. Take Crumbl. Look them up and you'll find the average store does about $1.1 million a year. Great, you think. That's my number. That average is lying to you. In their own disclosure document, the best store did $3.4 million, and the worst, $365,000. Same brand, same cookies, same playbook, but that's a 10-to-1 gap between the top and the bottom performing location. And less than half their stores even hit that average everybody's anchoring to. So inside every brand, there are really 3 businesses. There's the top quartile, the best operators in the best markets, there's the middle bucket, and there's the bottom quartile, the people quietly drowning. And here's the part that gets people. When you research a franchise, who do you think they introduce you to? The winners, every single time. Of course they do, it's in their best interests and it's their job. But the winners aren't your risk. The bottom is your risk, and you need to talk to the bottom. So go find the bottom 25% and call them. The top tells you what's possible, the bottom tells you what happens when it doesn't go perfectly. If the bottom quartile is still making a living, that's a healthy system. But if the bottom quartile is going broke, you need to know that before you sign, not 2 years in. Law number 3, the fee is the cheapest thing you're ever going to pay them. Everybody anchors on the franchise fee. It's only 25 grand to get in, and then they make the entire decision around that one number. The franchise fee is a one-time cost. It is your ticket into the system, and it is the single cheapest thing you will ever pay that franchisor. What actually decides whether you make money is everything after you sign the agreement. The royalty, the marketing fee, the reinvestment that they can force you to do in year 5, or who controls your underlying real estate. Take 7-Eleven, for example. Their franchise fee can be as low as $0, nothing, free to get in. And then for the entire life of the agreement, they can take up to 45% of your gross profit. Not your sales, your profit, every single month for the rest of the agreement. And that's why the fee was free to begin with. The fee was never how they were going to make money off of you. I've seen franchises with a tiny fee and a royalty that eats you alive. And I've seen a big fee attached to a structure that actually lets the owner keep what they earn or ramps slowly over time. The fee told you nothing about either one of those situations. The entry cost is a one-time number. The structure is the forever number. Read the whole disclosure document and fully understand all of the ongoing fees you're going to pay before you fall in love with a cheap sticker price. Law number 4, Your first 3 years matter way more than any average year that you have. This one surprises people the most. Two people can buy the identical franchise with identical long-term economics and end up in completely different places. The difference is when the money shows up. A business that's profitable on paper will still bury you if the ramp is too slow and you run out of cash before you even ever got there. Picture it. You open, revenue's low because revenue is always low at the start. Meanwhile, you're paying rent, payroll, the royalty, all of it on day one. If you're thin on cash in those early months, it does not matter that this thing would have been a gold mine in year 4. You're not making it to year 4. You need enough money to stay in the game. People model the steady state. They look at what a mature store earns and quietly assume that's their first year. And it's not. Capitalize for the ramp, not the cruise. Because before you sign, you need to know you can survive 18 to 24 months of the business being worse than you ever expected it to be. Law number 5. The passive income math is probably wrong. Almost every franchise gets sold on the same dream. Buy the business, hire a manager, collect mailbox money. Be your own boss without actually doing the work. This is false. It can be true eventually, but the math they show you is almost always missing something. That manager costs you real money and probably eats into most of your profits, especially in the early days. So the hands-off version of this business makes a lot less than the version where you're in there 60 hours a week, grinding, doing the work. Which means semi-absentee usually doesn't work until you hit a certain scale. One store, manager run, often barely clears anything once you've paid them. The passive model starts working when you've got multiple units and the overhead starts to spread itself out. Passive income from a franchise is a math decision, not a lifestyle promise. If your whole plan depends on being hands-off out of the gate, you need to model that manager's salary in honestly and understand you're probably talking about more than one location. One store is a job. The road to passive runs through scale and multiple units. Law number 6, your biggest risk isn't losing money, it's buying yourself into a job. Ask anyone what scares them about buying a franchise and you get the same answer, going broke and losing everything. And sure, that does happen. But it's not the most common bad ending, and it's not the one nobody warns you about. The common ending is much quieter. It's the franchise that technically works, pays you a modest salary, you didn't lose your money, but it ate away at your life. You're there every single day, you're doing everything, and it never scales, it never goes passive, and you can't sell it because there's nothing to sell without you in it. I've watched this happen to smart people over and over. They were so locked in on not failing that they forgot to ask whether succeeding at this specific thing was something they ever even wanted. They optimized against the wrong risk. The goal isn't just not to lose, it's to make sure that if you win, winning was worth it. Are you building an asset or buying yourself a job? Both can be fine, but know which one you're signing up for and accept it. And finally, law number 7. The last decision is emotional, not financial. Here's the one most conversations never get to. By the time somebody sits across from me and asks, "Can I even afford this?" the math has usually already answered itself. They've done the work and the numbers check out. That's not what they're asking. What they're actually asking is, am I the kind of person who can even do this? I know that because I've watched people sit on the sidelines for years, not because the money wasn't there, because they couldn't picture themselves as the owner. They couldn't let go of being the person with the job title and the badge and the direct deposit every other week. A franchise isn't a stock you buy and forget about. It's a business that you run every day. And deciding to do it comes down to who you are and what you're actually trying to build. That's not a spreadsheet question. So before you sign anything, ask yourself 5 things. 1, what life does this actually make possible? Not what the brochure promises, but what does your Tuesday actually look like? 2, what's the real all-in cost? Not the fee, but the royalties, the build-out, the working capital, the whole thing over 10 years. 3, can I survive 24 months if the ramp is slower than I expected? 4, have I talked to the bottom quartile, and do I actually know my downside, or am I just looking at the highlight reel? And 5, am I building an asset or buying a job? And either way, is that the one that I want? These laws won't hand you a brand or a number. They'll give you a way to make the decision that actually matters. Because the people who do well in this aren't the ones who found some magic franchise. They're the ones who went in with their eyes wide open and found the right fit for them. If this was useful, please subscribe. We're just getting started and every bit goes a long way. If this wasn't helpful, please leave us some comments so that we can learn and get better over the next video and the video after that. And if this is something you actually want help doing, owning a business, owning a franchise, and figuring out what fits your capital, your skills, and the life that you're trying to build, that's what we do here at Franzi. I'd love for you to check it out. YouTube has this new algorithm using AI that takes all your viewing behavior and recommends a video. So the algorithm says that this video is the best video for you. Check it out.